Hi, I'm Lauren Behan. I'm an occupational therapist in the inner west of Sydney, and I've been creating these videos for people that have experienced a stroke or a brain injury, and their clinicians try to regain some functional use of their affected arm or hand. So, last video we looked at elbow, and the one before that we looked at the shoulder. So now we're up to the wrist. Now this is where you'll probably find the most high levels of spasticity or hypertonicity, whereby the wrist and the hand tend to come in this way. So the wrist is quite tricky to work on, so we'll just start with the basics. So the wrist can move in 4 ways: wrist extension, wrist flexion, and deviation, which is ever so slightly side to side. So to start with, have the arms supported, probably resting on a table, and gently move them into flexion, back into neutral position, and then just very gently into extension. You don't want to push this one. And then if they do have any kind of movement, try and get them to try and move it into flexion. And they might not be able to extend back past the midline yet, but they might be able to bring the wrist ever so slightly back to neutral. So flexion, neutral, wrist extension. And I call this the shoe fly. So that's doing it that way. If you want to do against gravity, so if they're a little bit more advanced, supinate the elbow and the come here movement, where you try and flex the wrist towards you. And then against gravity, so put the elbow into pronation, support the forearm, and then extension. These are getting quite hard, so this is only when they're really advanced. You can also make it even harder by putting the forearm over the edge of a table, and then, this is with gravity actually, extend the wrist down. You might gently press them down, pronation, and then flexion. So that's another way to do that one. But this is the gravity eliminated way. So the shoe fly, flexion, neutral, extension. For deviation, so this is only very subtle. So I like to do palm down, and so you've got radial deviation, which is toward the thumb side. Support the forearm and try and move it to the side toward the thumb. And then ulnar deviation is the other way, toward the ulnar bone, this way. So neutral, radial deviation, neutral, ulnar deviation. And once someone's got this movement, I call it pat the cat. So the pat the cat. You can also do it the other way. So supination. This would be very difficult though. If a person does have hypertonicity, it'd be very difficult to do it in this way. But you can always do hand-on-hand movements. So passive range of motion, the hand hold side to side. The other way you can do it is, it's like a handshake. So you support the forearm, and downwards is ulnar deviation, and upwards is radial deviation, or the handshake. You can do it this way. If the person can't extend their fingers, which they probably can't if it's early on, you can try and put something really light in their hand and try to ulnar deviate and try to raise that object this way. It might only be a very slight movement. You can sort of feel along the extensor carpi radialis brevis. You'll be able to palpate, and you'll be able to feel if they can move this way at all, even if it's palm down. You can sort of feel any innervation of that muscle. So the pat the cat and the shoe fly. So again, if they're starting to get more advanced, you can do the shoe fly by having something lightweight, stabilize the forearm, and they've got to push that object side to side. You can make it heavier. Ooh. You could do the deviation over the side of the table, so something heavy, and they've got to bring that object up and then down. Down will be easy, obviously, with gravity, and then up. So you can be quite creative with it. You can also use this for the shoe fly. Yeah, so they're the main movements of the wrist. And as I said, if a person is quite, with a spasticity, you gently support, hand on hand, and just ever so gently move them into position. Sometimes it helps to use the table to roll out the fingers, pronate the hand on hand, and then try and do those movements. Okay, so that's it for the wrist and just the basic movements that the wrist can do and what to start working on. Again, always listen to what your clinician tells you to do, or your health practitioner, your doctor, because everyone's circumstances are different, and it's important to do what's in your best interests for your health and for your body. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Okay, bye.